I'm retired. I'm done. I'm 46. I'm washed up. I'm a broadcaster. I'm a commentator. I am a talking head. How about this novel idea? Fight the dude that's actually wanting to fight. I don't want to fight Jon Jones. I have no desire to fight anyone. I don't really feel like doing that anymore. Those days are behind me. But how about fight the dude that's actually waiting to fight you? Tom Aspinall. Right? Right? It's not about what may have happened back then. We want to know, as the consumer, what's going to happen today. What's going to happen today if Jon Jones fights Tom Aspinall? It
is a travesty. It is a crime what is happening to Tom Aspinall in the prime of his life, in the prime of his career. Give up the belt or fight. That's it. Defend or vacate. That's it.
So Jon Jones apparently reached out to Daniel Cormier, not for advice, not for commentary, but to talk about fighting him. Yep, not Tom Aspinall, the guy everyone's expecting Jones to face, but DC, who's been retired and doing commentary for years. And as you'd expect, Cormier wasn't exactly thrilled to hear his name brought back into the mix.
Came up on ESPN, it came up last week, was Jon was talking about how he would have beaten me worse at heavyweight. I don't have his exact quote as to what he said about the fight being more competitive or something. Back in the day when I was still actively fighting, he was talking about, I'm not looking to give anyone advantages. But I'm 46 years old now. It's easier to start talking about, well, I would have did this, and the other one. There's nothing that can be done about it. I'm not fighting anymore. I'm not a fighter. And hell, you won 2 fights. I don't know what the point to prove is by talking about what goes on between you and I. We have seen this story. We've had good fights. It was a great rivalry. I enjoyed it. It made me a boatload of money. It was good. But that was 7 years ago. 8 years ago was the last time.
Sometimes, as Tom has to say, he would love to fight him. He would love to be he would love to have the opportunity to be that guy. He would love it. Who wouldn't? But he just wants that belt. He wants whatever that belt signifies, whatever it symbolizes, and what it brings. It brings all the things that Jon Jones is enjoying right now, because if Jon Jones wasn't the most decorated champion, wasn't the greatest light heavyweight champion, wasn't the 2-division champion, he wouldn't be doing things like this. He wouldn't get opportunities like this. He wouldn't get the opportunity to live his best life. And now you are stopping someone else from living their best life. Do you get the difference? It's not about you.
Cormier made it clear that he's moved on from the fight game. He's in a different lane now, and he's not trying to revisit the past, especially not when there's an interim champion sitting right there, waiting for a shot at the real belt. Instead of focusing on Tom, Jones is busy digging up an old rivalry, and Cormier wasn't about to stay quiet about it.
The guy's big, the guy's strong, and the guy's young. It's interesting because I would not be so quick to say that Tom Aspinall is just going to beat Jon Jones. So many people forget who Jon Jones has fought, who he's been in the octagon with, and all the challenges he's overcome. With that being said, I believe this is a very dangerous fight for him. And I think he recognizes that. And that is the difference today, opposed to what Jones dealt with prior. When I fought Jones the first time, I was 36 years old. When we fought the second time, I was 38, about to go 39 years old. Like, we were up in age. How old were you when you fought Jones?
38.
Yeah, we were old. He was a young guy, 27. Now it's like he's on the opposite end of that. And like, there's some worry when you look in the mirror and look at a 38-year-old man opposed to that 27-year-old kid that he was before, and recognize that Tom Aspinall is dangerous.
He called it for what it looked like, a deflection. If Jones doesn't want to fight Tom Aspinall, then just say it. But going out of his way to bring up a retired fighter in private conversations, that's not exactly the move of a guy who's fully focused on the present. And the timing couldn't be more telling. Jones is finally recovered from injury, healthy enough to start talking fights again, yet somehow still not ready to commit to the matchup that makes the most sense.
Thing like I saw the other day, Jones was talking about how can people say that I'm ducking when I'm out here living my absolute best life. I don't know that is like the same thing. You can live a great life and not be fighting somebody, whatever. But in talking about what you would have done to me 7 years ago, 5 years ago when I retired, how about this? I've got a novel idea for you. I'm retired. I'm done. I'm 40.
And then there's the excuse making. Jones recently tried to downplay Tom Aspinall's resume, suggesting he hasn't earned the right to fight for the full title yet. But Cormier wasn't buying that argument, and how could he? Jones fought Cyril Gane for the heavyweight belt, and Gane was coming off a loss where he got submitted by Francis Ngannou, a guy who isn't even known for his grappling. If that was good enough for a title shot, how is Aspinall, who's been crushing opponents and holding the interim belt, suddenly not worthy?
Exactly. So how important is it now, right? How important is it now? Because the rumor was Jon Jones was going to fight Tom Aspinall in July at International Fight Week, the big blowout that will sell him boatload of pay-per-view as the deal starts to get to the end of the year.
Yeah.
Jon Jones just said 3 minutes ago that the window for fighting in July against Tom Aspinall may be passing because he feels he needs 6 months to
Well,
prepare.
you know what this is? This is exactly.
Cormier's frustration seemed less about himself and more about the state of the division. The interim champion has been left in limbo, Dana White is getting hounded with questions, and fans are stuck watching this drawn-out chess game instead of getting the fight they deserve. At some point, you've got to stop talking around the issue and make a decision. What makes this even more interesting is that Cormier didn't say Jones was scared. He's faced Jon twice, and he knows better than anyone how smart, skilled, and confident he is inside the cage. But he also suggested that maybe this time, the risk is higher. Aspinall is younger, faster, and very well-rounded, the kind of guy who presents more danger than anyone Jones has faced before, especially now that Jones is on the older side of his career.
Dana's getting bombarded with questions the other day on his live. When are we getting that? When are we getting that? He's still trying to find ways to tell people, calm down, it's coming. We want to know, when's the fight with the guy that actually wants to fight you? Doesn't need to be a hypothetical. You guys can actually answer the question as to who's better between you and Tom. I was the heavyweight champ in 2018-19. You're the heavyweight champ today, and there's another heavyweight champ that wants to fight. Do that. And for everybody going, he's ducking. I didn't think that his video saying, I'm living my best life equates to him not ducking. But I will tell you this. Don't be so quick to judge and think that Tom Aspinall is just going to beat Jon Jones. Don't think that, oh, DC wants to see Tom Aspinall fight Jones because Jones is going to lose. I don't believe that. I don't believe that Tom Aspinall is just going to beat Jon Jones. I don't think for a second Jon Jones is afraid of Tom Aspinall. The one thing Jon Jones has avoided that none of the other of us have is that visual of him getting finished. Khabib, Jon Jones, even the great Islam Makhachev got knocked out before. There's a visual of him getting knocked out. Jones has been able to avoid that for a very, very long time over the course of 3 generations of fighters. But there just might be a guy right now that seems to worry him a little bit more than most. But is he scared? Absolutely not.
Cormier didn't call it fear, he called it hesitation. There's a difference. But people start asking questions when that hesitation turns into delays and distractions. And calling out a retired rival instead of fighting the active interim champ? That kind of move gets people talking, and not in a good way.
Fought Jon Jones. I know how good that man is. I know how tough that man is. I know how hard it is to beat that man, or at least attempt to beat that man. He's going through the best this sport has ever had to offer. I just don't know that he's going through anyone like Aspinall because Aspinall's so big and young. When I was fighting Jones, I was 36 and 38 years old. He was 28 the first time. He was 30 the second time. Roles are reversed now. Aspinall's the young guy. He's the older guy. And now Jon Jones isn't scared of Tom Aspinall. That's absurd. Is he concerned that this one may be a lot tougher than most? Absolutely. I think he recognizes that this challenge might be a little bigger. But for the record, hey, like I said, I'm done. Fight him. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. Fight him. We had our experiences. Fight that dude.
And that's exactly where the conversation shifts. People are acting like this is shocking, like it's brand new behavior. But this isn't the first time Jon Jones has danced around a dangerous matchup. He sat out for years when Francis Ngannou was wrecking heavyweights, and now it's the same story with Aspinall. Fans who've been paying attention aren't surprised. They've seen this before.
What would happen if you fought Jon Jones? I think I win. We will never know unless they let him fight.
It's so sad, the fights that Dana is blocking. They're just so much fun that could be had in the fight world, but greed is a crazy sin. I want to see you versus John Jones so bad.
I always wanted that fight. If he works, he works. If he doesn't work, he doesn't work. I'm so happy in life.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the KSI fight.
He keeps saying he doesn't want Aspinall.
Aspinall need that fight. I don't need it. When you look at it, pretty much true. There's nothing that he's going to make winning that fight if it's not money. But for Aspinall, that will be everything.
Would you rather see him face Aspinall or would you rather see him face Pereira?
Aspinall will be a more challenging fight because Aspinall respond to a ground game better than Pereira. Aspinall will respond better in wrestling than Pereira. He can do whatever you want.
From Tom's side, it's not about disrespect. He's one of the few who's been vocal about how incredible John's skill set is. He's studied him, respected him, even admired how close to complete John has looked over 15 years. There's genuine appreciation there, not just as a fighter, but as someone obsessed with chasing that impossible goal of being perfect in MMA.
What he generally does with this style is he's very long, 6'4". I mean, not as tall for a heavyweight, but he fights kind of here and does a lot of this kind of stuff. And his attacks are very varied. So he'll go this way on the front leg. He'll go here. He'll also bring the head kicks up. He'll fake the takedowns, come in with the spinning elbows. Also, he's grappling. So if Joe goes against the fence, a lot of the time what Jones does really, really well is once he gets his hands together on a double leg, it is so difficult to break that. So he'll be here, he'll set up the double. Once his hands are locked and he starts to pull his opponent away, he almost always finishes the takedown. Then, as we've seen against Cyril Gane, when his opponents sit up, he's got such a strong front headlock from here, sprawling his leg back. When he gets to this spot, he's heavy here, and his ground and pound is some of the best that we've ever seen. Some of the best elbows in MMA.
How do you think that fight will go?
I think John is amazing at MMA. I think he's literally you can never be a complete UFC fighter. It's impossible. That's one of the things that draws me to the sport so much, is why I'm so obsessed about it. It's because you're constantly chasing perfection, but you're never going to get it. No one's ever going to be a perfect, complete fighter. But John, in my opinion, if you look at his body of work over the last 15 years.
But at the same time, respect doesn't mean silence. Tom's waited over a year now, holding the interim title, staying ready, and all the while, the full champ's been nowhere near the cage. First it was Ngannou, now it's him. The pattern isn't hard to see. He knows the UFC says the fight will happen, but it's hard to believe that when it feels like everything hinges on whether John finally says yes. And with Dana White still clearly backing Jones, it's like the goalposts keep moving. It's not about merit anymore. It's about timing, ego, and whether or not John's willing to risk that legacy against someone who actually has the tools to push him.
Like, people are starting acting surprised. Oh, John's a duck, this, that, and the other. John Jones ducked Francis Ngannou for 3 years. Like, don't be surprised that this guy always takes fights where he's at the advantage.
Is John Jones scared to fight you?
Yes. John is conning the public. The fact that he didn't want to fight Ngannou for 3 years, and now he's not wanting to fight me for over a year.
Is that fight fucking happening?
The UFC are saying that it's going to happen. I think it's down to him and Dana.
Dana loves John Jones.
He's trying to grease up his ego a little bit. I think he's one of the best fighters ever. Definitely top 3. That's debatable when you start putting in about drug tests and stuff like that, I think.
Damn. What drug are you talking about specifically?
Yeah.
But here's where things get interesting, because while Tom admits he doesn't like John Jones, he still respects him. That's the difference. Tom might find him annoying, but he sees John as the greatest of all time, someone who's done it all and still stands at the top. And even if he jokes about it, you can tell there's that deep competitive respect underneath. But when it came to John, he didn't feel the same way at all. He's not just uninterested, he flat out doesn't want to give Tom the time of day. From John's point of view, Tom's been nothing but disrespectful. He sees him as part of this younger, clout-chasing generation, always online, always trying to sell merch or go viral, and John's just not about that. He even said he doesn't want to do business with Tom because of the way he's carried himself. And that's where the real contrast hits. Tom's willing to fight John out of admiration and a desire to prove himself, but John's response is more like, you don't deserve that fight.
If I'm being completely honest, I feel like Tom's been such an asshole that I don't want to do business with him. You know, it's just like his fans have been so annoying. And obviously, you don't get this far in a career being affected by fans or whatnot. But he's just an asshole, you know, with his you know, he's 30, so he's from this influencer generation where you hop online and the T-shirt sales and all that. I'm past that type of stuff. I'm like, bro, if you had a little bit more respect, then maybe we could have worked something out, you know. But I just don't even want to do business with him. You know, at the end of the day, this is a business, and fighting me gives him an opportunity to change his life forever. And I don't even want to give him the opportunity. Like he just played his cards wrong with me personally, and you know, I'm 3 years from being a 40-year-old grown man. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the press conference, going through the whole shebang with him. I'd rather not do.
John feels like he's in the perfect position. His life is good. He's got nothing left to prove, and if someone wants to step into the cage with him, it better come with huge money and even bigger respect. He's made it clear, Tom needs him way more than he needs Tom. And until that dynamic changes, John's more than happy to sit back and let time do the talking. While Tom's out here saying he'd love nothing more than to fight John, literally saying he respects him and just wants the shot, and John's just brushing him off like he doesn't even matter. Turns out this contrast has really struck a nerve, especially with fans and even folks in the MMA media. Ariel Helwani actually talked about this on his show, and he didn't hold back. He played that clip of John on Instagram Live, where John says something like, "I got people calling me a duck. Meanwhile, I'm living my best life." And Ariel was like, "No, that right there is the problem. This whole thing isn't about your best life. It's not about some reality show in Russia with Nate Diaz, or how